All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is BC. I'm joined with my main man, Bill, who's here, another great, fantastic real estate agent. And I wanted to come on and interview him. I always love interviewing standout agents because I think they can share, their knowledge with you guys and really help you out. And it's nice to hear from somebody other than me. So, Bill, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor. I appreciate you having me. Seriously.
Yeah, let us know kind of where you're from, what market you're working in, and kind of how business has been for you the last year or two.
Yeah, so I've been licensed since 2019, 2020. My name is Bill Deaton. I'm in Central and Eastern Kentucky. Um, the last couple of years, last year was my best year when it comes to GCI units closed, everything top to bottom. Last year was my best year, and this year I'm going to be doing the exact same amount. I'm on track to do the exact same amount, even though despite a slow start. In fact, I'm probably going to break through that and have a little bit better year this year, despite what apparently everybody else is saying, that it's very slow and very rough. It's going well these last 2 years.
I love it, man. So you haven't even been licensed that long, about 6 years total?
Yeah, and I got my license in 2019. I was actually a school bus driver at the time, and it took me, and then I got a new job, like a brand new sales job to begin 2019 or somewhere in that ballpark. I didn't sell my first house until November of 2020. So it was a year and a half. And I was telling everybody the same things that I actually do now. I was saying, well, I'm going to prospect, I'm going to cold call, I'm going to door knock, I'm going to do all these things. And when you're a part-time agent, you kind of really focus on the full-time job, and it takes away from that. So I didn't really get that ramped up until the last, few years.
Yeah, what was it like in the beginning, being part-time? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that. And then maybe you can discuss how you eventually transitioned to going full-time.
So as a part-time agent, you really are focused on your core job, in my opinion. You are, whatever your 9 to 5 is, whatever's paying the bills. If you're not doing the right things, if you're not intentionally setting aside time to focus on this, it'll never flourish. It'll never bloom into what you want it to be. So if you are very strict with your time, and you can take a couple hours after work and you can work on prospecting or talking to people, and that was my problem. It was a sales job, and I thought sales job with real estate will come hand in hand. It'll be pretty easy to just say, hey, I'm also sell real estate. You're not showing your professionalism when you're sitting at a desk selling something else, and you just say in passing, oh, by the way, I also sell real estate. At that point, you kind of look like a jack of all trades, and a lot of people don't want that. So anyway, after doing that for a couple of years, the initial idea was to do it for about 6 months and then transition to full time. Fast forward about 2.5 years later, that's when I just kind of took the plunge. I built up a pipeline, and had a couple other agents that were handing me deals that they were overwhelmed with, and I was essentially a buyer's agent, and that's what kind of shortened the learning curve. I did about 6 or 8 deals that year, and just decided to take the plunge in August. And I took your advice, which is on one of the videos I saw at the beginning of the year. I said, in August, I'm quitting. I'm done doing this, and I'm going to go sell real estate full time. And August 11th was my first day full time real estate in 2022, and I haven't turned around since.
Wow. So at the time that you decided, right, in August, would you say that you were in the perfect position and the stars aligned, or there was a significant amount of risk that you were taking by making that decision?
No, the stars were not aligned at all whatsoever. No, I just stuck to my word. I said, middle of August, I'm quitting. And I did have one deal that was set to close in like a week. And then just to kind of, I don't want to be long winded, but I will say this: August 10th, I had a good amount of money in the bank. I didn't do what I was supposed to do after I left in August. I jumped with no parachute, hoping the parachute would open. And by January, I was broke, like dead broke. And I hadn't been prospecting, hadn't been cold calling, nothing. And I was this close to going and applying for jobs. And January of 23, I jumped on the phone, started calling FSBOs, started calling expireds, started just talking to anybody who would talk to me in town. And I don't want to say I've not had a worry since then, but business hasn't been dried up since then. So.
And when you officially went live in August and you went full time, I know you said you had one pending deal. Were you just not? Were you kind of like, hey, I made it, I'm good, I got it figured out, and you really didn't buckle down at that point, and you didn't call or do anything until January? What did those couple months look like?
Yeah, those were scary. So so what I would do is I would talk to kind of referral partners, or not really referral partners, but people who had sent me business in the past. And yeah, I really thought I had made it in August. I was like, man, I got a deal pending. I'm leaving this job on Tuesday, and I'm gonna have a closing Friday, and I can't wait to post it and rub it in their face and be like, what's up, and then it was just kind of the creative avoidance. Every day I would come into the office and just say, I'm going to prospect today, but I would work on my professional Facebook page, or I would, call my buddies, or somebody would call me and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh man, I'm prospecting. They're like, hey, you want to run out and grab a bite to eat? And I'm like, yeah. I just didn't make it a priority until it needed to be a priority. And then that's when it was either, and I'd ask myself in January, I was like, have I gave this everything I've had? Have you literally exhausted everything? Because when I played basketball, there was not a day that I didn't walk out of practice exhausted. Was I the best player? No. But I can tell you this, nobody outworked me there. So I kind of put that same mindset to this and said, have I give this everything I've had? And the answer was no. And I said, until I exhaust that, I'm not going to go back to a 9 to 5. And so that's kind of where it kind of, in January, that's where it kind of, the rubber met the road. And I started cold calling and doing what I needed to do.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because a lot of people, not only would they not commit to what you did leaving in August, but I think a lot of people too are deathly afraid of kind of having their back against the wall like you had it. And although it's not ideal, do you believe that was the only circumstance that led you to finally saying, hey, I'm going all in? Or do you think there would have been another way or methodology for you to really put your pedal to the metal and start to get things going?
No, I mean, it's essential in my opinion. And yeah, I've talked to so many agents or potential full-time agents that say the same thing. They're like, well, this pays the bills. So until I get this to replace this, I can't jump. And for me personally, it's either a why. I've said this before. It's either like a why or a wall. Like you're either accomplishing, and it's not my saying, I don't know who came up with it, but I've heard it. And it's either the why, like you're like the Lamborghini, like Lambo, or like the dream home. Like that's your why. That's why you're working. The why doesn't really fuel me. It's the wall. It's the not being able to pay my bills, not being able to take care of my kids and my wife, and not give them everything that they want and need. So I think it was essential for me, because if I was chasing after something, I wouldn't have worked as hard. But now that like to run away from that life again, I will work every day if I have to.
Yeah, and they talk about that a lot. Like you're either going towards something or you're running away from something. And it sounded like you wanted to run away from the devil, aka the bills and the catastrophe of not being able to provide for your family, right?
That's exactly right. It's embarrassing to me at that point to just be like, man, I'm 30 something years old, and all these other people around me are flourishing and doing really, really well, and I'm just sitting here talking about it. I'm not being about it.
Yeah.
So.
And it sounds like you pretty much just embrace the basics. So come January, right, you're this close to applying for jobs, and you start picking up the phone and prospecting. How quickly did you turn it around and start getting results? Was it immediate, or did it take some time?
I think the first one was like a blessing, honestly, in a way, because my skills were not great. I would just call and kind of have conversations with people. And I remember I started prospecting on a Monday, and I called this lady on like Tuesday or Wednesday. She was a FISBO. And I remember that I was super energetic on the phone. And I remember thinking, I need to mirror match this lady. But I was just too excited. Like I love calling, honestly. And I don't know why I didn't do it longer before. And so I was just super energetic on the phone. And I was like, and she was like, well, I'm losing you. I'm going through a bad service area. Click, she hangs up. And I was like on Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, fast forward, it's Sunday, and I get a phone call, and I recognize the number. And she's like, hey, are you a realtor? I said, yeah. She said, I want you to come list my house. Just flat out, just said it. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, how about tomorrow? And then I said, hell with that. I'm like, man, it's Sunday. Like, I don't even have a listing. I don't even have a deal pending. Like, I'm going now. I'm like, are you going to be home in 30 minutes? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'm on my way. And I went and printed everything off into t-shirt and basketball shorts and this probably wearing a hat like this. And I just went straight to her and we listed it and got it sold. And it was just, I asked her when I got to the house, I said, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. I said, why did you choose me? I said, because you mentioned in our phone call that there'd been 10 or 15 agents call you. She said, because you were the only one who sounded like you really wanted to help me. They were just telling me I was stupid and crazy for listing it on my own. And I was like, okay, well, cool. And so, from then on, it's just, I just fed off that feeling. Like, I love that. I love when people say stuff like that to me.
Yeah, and that's important, man, because I think a lot of agents don't realize that what they're saying and what they're doing gives off that like commission breath, which is what she's talking about. Like, you're just in it for you and not here to help me. But
Yeah.
there is a point that I want to touch on that because it's so key. I think 99% of agents would have just hung up the phone, agreed to meet with her the next day, and been ecstatic. But no, you took advantage of the situation and said, no, you know what? You're going to be home in 30 minutes. Let's go right now. Have you always been like that, or did the moment kind of draw that out of you?
The moment drew it out of me, because in doing this for so long, I say so long, like I've been doing it for 30 years, but like I don't want to see, because to me, in a way, that almost seems desperate. Not saying that it is, but in that moment, I was desperate. Like, I needed something positive to go well for me. Now, like, it's more calculated. Like, I want to know more about the house before I go. Like, I want to know what your payoff is. I want to know what, the condition the house is in. Like, I want to come prepared. That one, I was not prepared. We got it sold in like a week, like less than a week. We had it on the market. It was gone like that.
Yeah.
She gave me a little bit of pushback on the commission and the price, but we listed for full 6 at the time, and she listed for my price, and we went quick. So now it's more calculated. So no, I try to make that appointment very soon, very rarely, if ever, same day.
Yeah, I love that, man. Because I think that's so important too. Because you could say you overlook some details, but I think having that sense of urgency and really moving forward with things is important. And I think in those moments and situations, especially, a lot of agents tend to back off or they're afraid. Right? It didn't seem like you were afraid. You went in on the deep end, probably because you're like, hey, I really need this. I need this paycheck and I need this listing, right?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the urgency part, absolutely, there is a sense of urgency. I don't want to sound like, so I agree with you. And I very rarely will go same day, but that's not because of like the lack of urgency or anything like that. It's just the amount of preparation I want to have for it. So that way I'm serving them the best way possible. And I'm not going to say something like last night. So for instance, last night I texted you and I had said, hey, I got a listing appointment tomorrow. Well, I misunderstood because this came from my best friend who said that his mom wanted to list her house. And I said, okay, I'll come up there tomorrow and get everything signed. And I was texting her back and forth. And she said, well, I'm not ready to list yet. She said, but I do want some information. And I said, well, I've got a meeting tomorrow morning. Can I call you after? And she said, either tomorrow or tonight, either way. Because how she was talking was she's ready to go soon, but she needed that extra push. So at 7:30 last night, I jumped on a call with her and talked to her for like an hour and like kind of explained to her what the market was like and explained to her that listing sooner would be better than listing later. Yeah. And so this week I'm actually going to go up there when she gets back from her trip, and we're going to go ahead and get everything signed and taken care of.
Nice.
Get ready. So
I love that. Well, now with more experience, obviously, you can be a lot more methodical and handle things properly. And I think as rookies, we really don't have that, right? So, correct. Yeah, you start, and was it, you're off to the races? Was there any kind of dry spells there in that beginning portion, or was it just, hey, you got on the phones, you got that first deal, and then, you were off to the races?
No, yeah. So it did feel like it was off to the races at first. Like, I got that listing. I think I grabbed a couple more, and then activity breeds activity. So therefore, you throwing stuff on social media that actually means something. I'm not gonna go too deep into that. I don't want to make anybody mad, but at the same time, like, activity breeds activity, and I was just bombarded with business, and I had never had anything more than like one closing in a month, and it was like every other month. So at that point, like, I was having 2 or 3 closings in a month. I did what typically everybody does. I had 5 deals pending. Foot completely off the gas. Said, let's coast. Let's just take care of these 5. Let's make sure these 5 close. And I had a dry spell after that, But again, it's my dry spell now is a lot different than what it was back then. Like a dry spell back then was like zero money in the bank, $0 in the bank. Like that's when you get your butt kicked in gear. Now it's like, oh my God, like I only have one closing this month. I need to get it going. So I rode that roller coaster at the time. So dry spells, not really, just because I could see the writing on the wall and I knew that like whatever I do today is going to pay me in 30, 60, 90 days. So like if I went like a couple of weeks without any activity, I would ramp it up and get it back going to where I would stay pretty steady.
Cool. What were you following in regards to a schedule back then? Was it like a typical productive agent schedule where like you get up early, you role play, you hit the phones and prospect? I mean, what did that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've tried to grab a couple of role play partners here and there throughout the years, and they kind of fall off the wayside or whatever. But so my typical schedule at the time was I was doing 75 hard. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but I was working out twice a day. So I would get up, I would do a workout in the morning, and I would come back to my house, which is where I worked, and I would call from probably around 10 to 12 or 1. Grab lunch, and then the outdoor workout, which was just a walk. I'd go outside and walk, and then I would leave the entire evening up for appointments. So that's really that was the basis of my schedule. I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I didn't want to do anything. So from like 9 to 12 or 10 to 1, that 3-hour time block, whatever time I would get the kids to school and all this other stuff, that 3-hour time block, that was following up or calling FSBOs, expireds. Even in the gym, like I would take talk. I got an expired one time because I went to the gym and got a great relationship. And that relationship has now given me probably 5 deals because of a relationship I built in the gym. And prospecting didn't necessarily for me have to be just on the phones. Like I said, if I felt like going outside, I'm a terrible door knocker. I'm just awful at it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about me. I can't door knock. I can call the president tomorrow and have a great conversation with him. If I knocked on his door, I don't know. I'm just not good at it. But if I met you in Kroger, if I met you in the gas station somewhere, I could have a great conversation. But anyway, to go back to your original point, it was like workout, 3 hours worth of prospecting. Usually I would get an appointment or two scheduled for later in the week, and then the evening would be left up to family time or appointments.
Yeah. So simple. And has that pretty much carried through to now, or is there a big change?
Yes, basic. I mean, it's as basic as it can get. I mean, and that's essentially, I want to get every bit of my prospecting done that I want to do for a day before noon or 1 o'clock, because once I hit lunch, I kind of go down a little bit, and my enthusiasm isn't as high as it usually is. So yeah, that's kind of carried me throughout this. And now I don't have to prospect as long now. I mean, I don't have my exact numbers in front of me, but I mean, this year alone, I've only closed 3 FSBOs, but I remember those 3 were the first 3 I called this year. And it was just kind of, I'm not going to say like I'm that skilled that every FSBO I call lists with me, but like at the time it was just like bam, bam, bam. Like they all just agreed and we got them sold. And so like, if I want to prospect now, which I don't do as often or as consistent, it's, a couple hours every other day. And, everything else is just kind of referral and follow up and those kind of things.
Yeah, so your sphere of influence now is feeding you a lot more than it used to.
Oh yeah, like I'd say my sphere has given me half or more of my deals this year.
Yeah, that's great, man. And that's kind of the formula that I preach to people. If you do it right for a couple of years and you build your database and you work it, this is what happens. And I've never talked to somebody producing at a high level who doesn't get at least 30-40% of their business from the sphere of influence. So to hear that you're getting about half sounds all right to me.
Yeah.
How long did it take for your database and referrals to really start picking up? Was it like year 3, 4? What did that look like?
Yeah, it's probably right around year 3 or 4. I mean, you're just kind of hunting for new business, and you got to remember to take care of the seeds that you've planted before. So therefore, always trying to keep those people top of mind and just touch base with them. And whether you even want business or not, just follow up with your past clients. So doing that over the course of the last couple of years has really been fruitful. And I've really gained a lot of activity last year and this year. I would say I brought my numbers down last year, and I think almost half were referrals or sphere of influence type deal.
As it should be, right? Because then that also kind of makes you resistant to market disruptors, because this is a list of people that know you, like you, trust you, and are going to work with you no matter what. And that also, again, it really leverages you and your brand and your business against market disruptors. And I think a lot of people overlook that. And, I really wanted to ask you this because I have a few more questions before we wrap up. First one is this. Why, I don't know if you've dealt with this, but why do you think, I hear this all the time from people, hey, I have no problem calling the FSBO or the expired, but I'm definitely afraid to call people I know are my database. Did you ever deal with that? And if you haven't, why do you think people will call a complete stranger and have no problem, but then be afraid to call somebody that they know?
I don't know. I'll put it. I can kind of understand, but also in this industry, I don't understand. Like I don't. So, my wife, who is literally just on the other side of this wall, one of my first jobs was I was a bartender and a waiter at Applebee's, and it was a local place. Or is it? Well, obviously everybody knows Applebee's, but it's local to where we went to school. And she would come in all the time, and I probably worked there for 3 years, and I never waited on her, not one time. And we were dating at the time, and because I didn't like working with people that I knew there. Here, like I love calling people that I've talked to, that I know, that I work with. Like I love it. Like, so I guess potentially in my mind, to make it make sense, I think it would be because your friends don't want you to think, you don't want your friends to think you're desperate or you're searching for business through them or you're using them maybe. I don't know. I never looked at it like that. I just called them and be like, what's up? You know anybody who's trying to buy or sell? Because like, I'm trying to eat, kind of make it light, like, in a way, but like sometimes it works. Yeah. So no, I never had that problem.
Yeah, and I hear it. I've heard it pretty often, and I never really had that problem either. In fact, I was excited to call them, so I'm like, hey, like I don't need as much skills with these people. They know me, so I can just get straight to the point.
It makes sense. I mean, that's exactly right. And like, especially if it's a really good friend of yours, just call them and just kind of shooting it around. Like I don't know. Like I have no problem with that. I mean, it was cool for me.
Yeah, and I think like what I would give as a piece of advice to people, I'd say, hey, call them and let them know, hey, you set a goal to help X amount of families this year or sell X amount of homes, and you're calling them to see if they can help you out. Frame it as if they're helping you, and that should make it easier.
Exactly.
But it's still, I'm kind of in your shoes. I'm like, why would you hesitate to call somebody you know or somebody who already likes you? If anything,
Yeah.
It's easier. One more thing I wanted to ask you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen this because you've been in the industry now for 6 years. So you've been here long enough to kind of see what's going on. You're well aware of the failure rates. The average age of production is plummeting. And an association that I've made, even though people don't really talk about it, is I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're witnessing this too, people get farther and farther away from a schedule like yours and the traditional activities, and agent production is going down. Yet when I talk to the everyday agent, or I gauge based on questions that I'm getting and just seeing what people are talking about, I feel like everyone's looking for an answer or solution outside of the stuff that we talked about today, right? Like, oh no, I'm never gonna, talk to somebody, cold call, door knock. Why do you think, even though you can show them the numbers and it's obvious, that people continue to get farther and farther away from traditional stuff and keep doing things that are getting them worse results? Why do you think that's happening?
In my opinion, is because, and you kind of said it best, is like whenever I think your video was one of the first videos I ever saw back in like 2018. Like I looked up pros and cons of real estate, and yours was the first one that popped up. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a carbon copy. If I follow these footprints, I'm going to get there. I think, in my opinion, that maybe it has to do with the thing that happened in 2020 that I've heard you say you can't talk about, but like the thing that happened in 2020, I think a lot of people, I think their communication skills have went down, and they're scared to death to call anybody. They're scared to death to talk, and they're scared to death to have communication, just because, and maybe it's not scared, but it's their skills have went down. And so they're looking for the easiest route, which is talking to their phone. And it's kind of ass backwards to me. I mean, I'd rather talk to a human. I've been trying to post videos on Instagram recently or Facebook, and it like cringes me to hold. Like I'm dying, like thinking somebody's going to see me doing this, like out here talking on my phone. Like I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to do it. Like I want to just kind of call you and be like, "What's up?" But everybody's told me I need to kind of get on that train a little bit and at least put my face out there. So therefore, I think it's just I think it's a lack of skill, a lack of confidence, maybe. Probably.
Absolutely. I think those are major contributing factors. And The funny thing is, yeah, you got to do it because I mean, we wouldn't have met if it wasn't for me making videos. You know what I mean? So, and that's how it started. That's how this thing started. But really, I tell people it's a great tool and it's free, right? We can post videos on Instagram, YouTube, and all that, and it's fantastic for your brand. And it's almost like a free online resume, right? And when I started years ago, people were scratching their heads when I bring up social media, and now everyone almost expects it in a way. Like, what are you going to do? And they're more, looking for those types of things versus 10 years ago. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? Make a video for my house. That doesn't make any sense, right? So I've seen that.
You're gonna break out the camcorder and just be like, hey.
Right, I know, right? Like, what are you doing? That's funny. But yeah, man, I'm glad, I've interviewed you and a ton of productive agents, and the schedules and what you guys do are always similar, and I beat people over the head with it, but they just refuse to do it. So, or I'll hear, well, you know what, Bill, Bryan, I tried cold calling. I didn't get results like him, so why would I do it, right? So if you were to give them some words of wisdom with the simplicity and the basics, like, what would you tell
them? First of all, I'd ask that person, how many calls have you actually made? I mean, at the end of the day, like they make 2 days worth of calls, and trust me, I've had that right next to me. Like I've had a really good buddy who's tried. I've had a couple of good buddies who tried to do this, and we'll sit down together. And I'll just be knocking them out, and they're making like 1 or 2, and they're like, "Man, this don't work." But my advice would just be, just keep going. Like if you've ever seen the meme of the guy who's like mining for gold, and then he gives up after so long, and he's this close, and then the next guy comes along and he hits it. Like let that be your everyday schedule, and don't base your success every day on whether you got an appointment or a lead or a closing or a listing or not. My best piece of advice is go to bed tired from the work that you've done today. Like if you've done what you need to do every day, if you say, I want to contact 50 people today, contact 50 people, and that's your win for the day. Have dinner that night, celebrate that win, and just keep doing that, because just by doing it, your skills are going to get better and you're going to get better results. And I know it may seem tiresome, but don't think about yourself today. Don't think about Bryan Casella today. Don't think about Bill Deaton today. Think about what our minds will say to us 6 months from now if we do everything we need to do every single day. And just do that, man. Just work on, finish the plate in front of you, make the calls, and you'll thank yourself later. I can promise you that.
Keep it simple. Cool.
Keep it simple.
Last thing I want to ask you before we wrap up, if you were to highlight maybe 3 things that you think were pivotal decisions that you made or actions that you took to benefit like your business the most.
It's a good question. 3. First of all would be surrounding myself with people who act like me, move like me, think like me. Like if you're still hanging out with your high school buddies or still talking to your high school buddies and you're trying to be a millionaire and they're not, still love them, still talk to them, find 4 that are like that, okay? That are like you want to be. Secondly, just taking action every day. Sorry, there's a bug. Taking action every day, whether that be cold calling, door knocking, having conversations in the grocery store, touching past clients, action every day. And number 3 is kind of just this is the biggest one for me, I think. This is a serious industry we're in, but it doesn't have to be serious 24/7. Do this in an enjoyable way. Do it in an enjoyable way, like keep it light on the phones, keep it light in conversation. There's a time to be serious, and there's a time where it doesn't have to be like we're in a funeral home. Keep it light and enjoy the process, because like when you're so tight and nervous about every single thing you do, it can't be enjoyable. Loosen up, enjoy it, have fun with it. So those would be the 3 things I think.
I love it, man. Words of wisdom. Well, Bill, appreciate you coming on. All right, it's always fun to interview productive agents, to hear from you guys. If anybody wants to, contact you, follow you, if you want to share your socials or any information, how can somebody reach out to you if they want to chat?
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram is just my name, Bill Deaton. You'll see a picture of me, my wife, and our 2 little girls on there. And Facebook is the same thing, just my name, Bill Deaton. Nothing special, nothing crazy. It's not like, just my personal page is where I post everything please feel free to reach out and chat with me. If you message me, I'll give you my phone number. You can call me, text me, whatever you want to do, because this is my favorite part of this, is just being able to help other agents get to where they want to go. So,
brother, man, appreciate you, man.
Bye. Appreciate you, brother.